Welcome everyone to today's webinar, this rainy Friday evening, to what we call the Generous Emotional Intelligence webinars. Thank you very much for being with us today. And today we're going to be discussing the topic of empathy. I've had so many questions on empathy, and I thought that it was best if we invited one of my personal emotional intelligence mentors, Mr. Deiric McCann, and one of the best teachers that I know and the best speakers that I know. So
keep going.
we're very honored to have you with us this evening, Deiric. So thank you very much for joining us. If you want to be part of this conversation, if you're on social media, please tag us, Profiles International. You can tag at Deiric McCann, I think, Twitter, yeah? And
yep.
You can also find us on LinkedIn. You can use the hashtag EIWorks and Molder Culture, and also hashtag GeneralStribe. So as you know, at Profiles International, we pride ourselves with creating more emotionally intelligent workplaces, and we do run several programs and certifications that speak to developing emotional intelligence, both in the workplace and in your personal life. And so today we are here with Mr. Deiric McCann, all the way from Ireland. Did I say Ireland the right way? And Deiric has been the head of international for some time, and he's the head of international for Generous International. We are a world leader in providing emotional intelligence assessments and education offerings, just what I was talking to you about earlier on. He also has over 20 years of experience helping coaches, consultants, trainers, and other entrepreneurs to bring their clients the ability to get the very best from every person in the organization. I also know him as an author. I've read his book, Leadership Charisma. I have it. I think it's even autographed. Thank you very much.
Sure.
And he's also a Search Inside Yourself teacher, a program that was born at Google. I think that speaks a lot about it being intentional and mindful, and probably leading in a coaching way. I don't know much about it. I think that's what I gather from what I read and Search Inside Yourself. So Deiric, without saying too much, I'd like to welcome you to this webinar and to tell you thank you very much.
It's my pleasure, and thank you for that really, really long bio, which makes me feel very old, because when you read it out, the one thing that jumps out is he must be really freaking old to have done that.
No.
So now I'm going into the weekend. I was going in feeling very happy at our blue sky, and now I'm going in depressed.
No. Old is just another word for wise. Wise. Just stick with wise.
Hey folks, it's good to see you, and it's lovely to see. I see some names I know, and I see some names I do not know, and looking forward to working with you this afternoon. I think actually let me put up my title slide here, because I think it's something that I thought about when we were coming into the session after Vicky asked me to come along. And let me get this up. And I was quite, to use the word that Vicky used there, I was quite intentional about giving this the title I gave it, because right now there's a huge amount of talk about empathy, and people are talking about how important it is, how it drives your business, how it oils the wheels of relationships, it gets people working better, and it seems to be the topic of the moment. Yeah. But while lots of people are talking about it, people don't seem to be doing anything about it. And empathy is like so many things. You can know what it is, but if you're not actually practicing it, if it's not actually practical, if you're not using it day to day, well, then it has no effect. So walking around the world knowing that to be empathetic is important is one thing. But to actually show up in a way where you practice being empathetic is something else. So here's what I wanted to cover today. I wanted first off to look at empathy from a very experiential point of view. So I want to give you one or two experiences and just getting you feeling that sense of what empathy is in you right in this session today. Then I wanted to talk just really, really quickly about how that experience and how that felt sense of empathy works, where it's coming from. I'll move on then with really quickly with 2 slides that say, hey, there's a lot of good reasons to go out there and start practicing. And then finally, I'll give you a simple approach whereby you can begin to practically apply empathy from the moment that you walk out of this session. In every meeting that you have with everybody from now on, I'll talk about formal meetings, but any sort of interaction whatsoever. So it's that's my goal. And once we've gone through that piece, then what Vicky will do is throw open the microphones and let's have a chat and let's have some conversation and around your experience and ask questions and all that sort of stuff. Somebody muted me. Was that a review? Anyway, so instead of talking about the theory around it, I'm going to start off with a little piece of video. Now, here we go. Sorry, 1 second. And oh no, I'm not. Darn, I completely forgot. Because you're at the end of your day. What I thought was we'd do a quick 2-minute sort of arrival practice just to chill, because after this session, probably most of you folks are going out or going into the weekend and chilling. So I thought it'd be nice for us to start off, and it also would help to settle down my nerves so that I don't fall apart during the session. So what I'm going to do is a really quick 2-minute practice, which is just designed to kind of settle you down. So what I'd like you to do, if you're comfortable doing so, first off, just put your feet flat on the ground, put your hands on your lap. And if you're comfortable doing so, close your eyes. Now, if you don't want to close your eyes for whatever reason, just allow them to fall down to a spot on the ground, maybe a 1.5 meters in front of you. And just allow that sort of sleepy half focus that you get when you're daydreaming, just a soft focus on that spot on the ground. And here's all we're going to do. In a moment, I'm going to ring a bell. Not for any woo-woo reason, not for any ooh or hippy-dippy reason, but just I'm going to ask you, when you hear the bell, just to bring your attention to the bell and see if you can just keep your attention resting lightly on the sound of the bell until it flickers out of existence. So it'll start off loud and it'll get quieter. And then I'll do it again. And then I'll do it again. And we'll do that just for 2 minutes. And your only task in this is just allow yourself to settle your attention just onto the bell. So let's do that, and I'll unpack why I'm doing that in a few moments. So here comes the first bell as I start the timer. And as the bell disappears, just allow your eyes to open, give a stretch, give a yawn if you want to, whatever you need to do to get yourself back in the game. That is one of my favorite practices to do a couple of times during a day, because it just gets rid of that sense that's often there at the end of the day if I don't do it, that my attention is all over the place and I'm scattered. And you know that experience of stress that we all get. I think the core experience of stress is one of, there's just so much to do that I can't figure out where to place my attention. I've got these 10 things in front of me I could be paying attention to. There's a dozen things I should have done yesterday. There's a dozen things I should be doing tomorrow. And your attention is everywhere and nowhere. And what's really nice about that practice is the bell has no information, no content, nothing to distract you. And in the moment when you bring your attention onto that bell and you're focused on that, because your brain is happily limited to single tasking, everything falls away. Even if you only get a couple of seconds where you really are focused on the bell, everything falls away, and it just gives you a little bit of a mental refresh or a mental reset. And I think that's a great way to go into a Friday night. So thank you for playing with me on that one. And in case you're interested, I'll send you the name of an app that you can get for nothing, where I have that and a number of other practices up on it. But now, here is the advertised video. Okay. Now, some of you may have seen this, some of you may not. A number of years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, when the Syrian war broke out, hundreds of thousands of refugees started making their way up through Turkey and into Europe. And in the beginning, those refugees who were fleeing the war-torn country, they were welcomed by people in European countries. But then the numbers got bigger and bigger, and in some situations, people in European countries, including my own, started to have a less than human and humane approach to these people who were under tremendous pressure. And people started to have quite an amount of negative feeling towards them. And at that time, Amnesty in Poland dusted off a little piece of research by a psychologist whose last name I can't remember. It'll come up now in a moment. And which said that all we need to be able to tune into somebody and empathize with them is just 4 minutes of eye contact. So they made this video of a big experiment that they did in a warehouse in Poland, where they brought in dozens of refugees coming from different parts of the war-torn world. And they brought in an equal number of Europeans. And I want you to imagine that they're coming in these two different groups, and they walk them in pairs. You'll see this happen. One is a refugee and one is a European, and they sat them down face to face, and they told them, when you open your eyes, sorry, they walked them in with their eyes closed. When you open your eyes, all I want you to do is just give the person across from you 4 minutes of eye contact. We'll ring the bell, we'll tell you when it's over, but just give them 4 minutes of eye contact. And that was all they were told. Not to interact with them, not to talk with them necessarily, but just to give them 4 minutes of eye contact. Now, as you watch this video, let me invite you to do something that's different to the usual way that we watch videos. I don't want you to spectate with this video. I invite you to participate. By participate, I mean allow yourself to slip into the shoes of people you see in this video and see if you can inhabit their experience as they go through this exercise. And that's all I want to say to you. And just do that. And at the end of it, we'll have a very quick conversation about that. So I'll just ask Vicky in a moment to give me a thumbs up just to tell me that the sound is getting through when I started. So here we go. So just see if you can tune in to the people in the video rather than just observing them. Here we go.
Nice mustache. One, two, three, four, five, six, five. Sechs, fünf.
Are you new in Berlin?
Yeah, 8 months.
And are you alone here or with your family?
No, I don't. This life, sometime nice, sometime not good.
Hi. Beatrice. Oh my god, I'm keeping my eyes on you. Oh. Hello. I expect you to ask my number. Be a strong man.
Thank you so much.
We will go to the zoo, maybe next few days. I
Yes.
will text you if you would like to.
I would love it. Of course. You can do it.
When I was looking into her eyes, I was trying to see what I could tell from the life that she lived, and I think I could tell that there was a lot of experience lived there.
It doesn't matter, look in the eyes or something, just give yourself a chance to talk and to look at the other person.
Okay, I'll talk to you a little bit about that in a few moments. For now, I just hold on to wherever you happen to be right now, and I'm going to give you about 60 seconds. I just want you to think about something for an exercise we're going to do in a moment, just to complete that experience, if you like. So bring something to mind that you'd be comfortable talking about for 2 or 3 minutes, and the most important thing is it's something that's meaningful to you. So it might be sometime when you overcame a challenge. It might be someone in your life whom you particularly appreciate. But the key thing is just something that's not so personal you don't want to talk about it, but that is meaningful to you, that actually really is important to you. And what we're going to do in a moment is I'm going to break you into pairs in a breakout room. And I'm going to invite you to decide who's going to be person A and who's going to be person B. And the easy way to do that is whomever's first name is closest to A is going to be the first person to go. And I'll time you, but A will talk then about that thing that's important to them just for 2 minutes. And B, your job when you're listening is not to listen for the words, but to listen for what they felt. So it's to listen for the emotion. So it's really of what were they feeling? What emotion do you hear them experience as they recount this thing that's important to them? So we'll do that for 2 minutes. And I'll send you in a message that says, okay, your 2 minutes is up. Then B, having listened for that, you'll just feedback and you'll just say, here's what I heard you feel. Not what I heard you say, here's what I heard you feel. Here's what I sensed was the emotion in that situation. And then I'll tell you to swap, and B will be talking and A will be listening. And the key thing in this, you can see where it's going. The key thing in this is you're listening for what is felt. And when we come back out, then we'll talk about what's the significance of all that. So, oh, I beg your pardon. I've gone too far. So I am going to break you now in a moment into breakout rooms. Now, I'm not sure, some people will have been in them before, some people won't. If you land in a breakout room and you're there by yourself, don't come out, stay there. I'll get somebody into you. It's like Star Trek, I can transport them into you. So don't worry about that. We get to just hang on till you get there. If you arrive in, there's another person with you, that's great. You just decide who's A, and you start talking about that thing for 2 minutes. And B, the job is just to listen to what's felt, and we'll send you in some messages. So I'm going to get you broken into those rooms right now. How many people have we got? We got 40. Holy God, we got 41 participants. Welcome, folks. So we're going to break that into 20 rooms, and I'm going to ask you, Vicky, not to go in, and so that we have a nice even number. Okay, folks. Any moment now, you're going to get a message. In fact, you should have it now. You just click on it to join the room, and I am going to start the timer again. So off you go. You have 2 minutes. Well, off you go. You have 2 minutes. Press the button, Deiric. Press the damn button.
Star Trek.
Oh my God. Okay, so join the rooms now, folks. Okay, I'm going to move you to room 20. 20.
Seems like you're hard at work.
Yes, there's some people haven't joined, so I'm just moving people around a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, I think we're probably okay now. Please God. Okay, okay. Oh no. Window. Put purity in with window. 13. Okay, good.
Can you put me with Mary?
Oh, give me 1 second, and I can. What number is Marianne?
She's in number 2.
Okay, let me see. Oh, Mary is, I thought I had moved her to somewhere else.
Or you can move her to 5 with Zainab Mwarekwa to room 5.
Move her to 5, okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Okay, so 2 minutes, super. Now, they really should have this set up so the co-host can also use the breakout. It's crazy.
Yeah, they should. It's
Silly. Because that's the more appropriate, that's the more useful use.
Exactly.
But this whole thing came on them so quickly. They weren't expecting to be so successful, lucky devils. We should be so lucky, right?
Yeah. I know. And voila.
Yeah. Imagine the world hits a major crisis. That's the best thing that ever happened to you in your life.
The world vaccines.
Makes you 1 in a billion.
I know. 1, literally 1.
Yeah. If you run Amazon or you run Zoom, it's happy days.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. And that's okay. B talking now. A feeding back.
It's interesting the conversations going there because I mean, people don't know each other. It's
No,
very.
And after the first 20 seconds, that awkwardness disappears and the humanity kicks in.
Huh, okay.
It's incredible.
We've been joined by one Tumaini.
All right. Okay, 1 more minute to go. I won't press to close all rooms because everybody will come out.
Will they?
They will if I find if you do it, even though it says there's 1 minute to go, everybody comes out.
These ones might be a deep in storyland.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah. Like real deep in storyland.
Reset now. I did one of these breakouts a few weeks ago and it was a 4-part.
Mm-hmm.
And I was controlling the time and I started having a conversation with a co-presenter and I completely forgot where I was. It's horrible. Hey, you know, it just, who's doing what position? Oh my God. I could have cried. I could have cried.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Usually when I do the presentations, I'm talking and 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 talking. When I'm done, I can't talk anymore. So when the Q&A comes.
So when you get home, it's just, don't talk to me, David. I need to decompress. Yeah.
I know, and even when the Q&A comes, I've lost my train of thought. I'm struggling with a dry mouth.
And even I find at the end of particularly with Zooms in the current climate, because we can't go 5 kilometers from home.
Mm-hmm.
That's the maximum. So in the current climate, what we I'm on Zoom from 7 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night some days. I can't find words by the time it gets to 8 o'clock. Every
Yeah.
words. I'm just, and I want to talk to you about so I get a little view of what it's going to be like in about 10 years' time when I'm senile.
It's very, very true. I actually was in a training the whole morning today. And so I landed here just in time for you.
Oh my God.
And I went,
Yeah, I know that feeling. Okay, people are going to close in 40 seconds. Let me stop this for a second so I can see the shiny, happy faces coming back.
Yeah.
Okay, so people are coming back. I have to say, I love the power and the control of those breakout rooms because for those of you who aren't science fiction fans, it will mean nothing to you. But to me, it feels like Star Trek. It's like being in the transporter room, moving people around from place to place. So let me see, they will close in 18 seconds. So you're welcome back to the folks who are back. You're very, very welcome. And 11 seconds, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. And then we'll have everybody back. Okay. So I believe we have everybody back. So, hey, folks, do me a favor. And some of you are already doing it. Unless you're sitting there in your PJs or otherwise indisposed, do me a favor and switch on your camera so I can see your shiny, happy faces. Because it's really funny looking at this mosaic of pictures and images and all that sort of thing. So if I could see you. So let me just ask you. And I'm going to ask somebody to get brave. Hi, John. I didn't see you slipping in the background there. I'm going to ask somebody to get brave and break from the rush and tell me, between the video and that experience, what did you notice? Anything at all? Open up your microphone and just, what did you notice? Either the experience of watching the video and tuning into it or having that conversation. Just tell me, what was your experience? Come on, you know you want to. You're just waiting for somebody else to do it. Come on. Be the first. Go into Friday.
Yes.
Hey, who was that?
Hey,
Violet. Violet.
Yeah. Yes. How did I feel? I don't know. I just kind of felt a sense of happiness meeting this beautiful young lady from Egypt.
Yeah.
And we just started talking and getting to know each other.
And somebody you had never met before, Violet?
I never met her before. And we started, she told me she meditates and she told me, try it.
Yeah.
It will help you control your anxiety and your stress levels.
Oh, great. Thank you, Violet. Thank you. And I totally agree with your Egyptian counterpart. It's a wonderful tool set. It really is. Come on, somebody else. Give me 2 cents worth. Just what did you notice? Anything at all. I'm not looking for the right answer, the wrong answer. It's just your experience. Yeah. Hi, Eva. Oh, you're muted. Unmute your mic. Oh, there you go.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Vicky.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I think one of the things that I noticed both from the video as well as my interaction with my new sister here, who I've never met before, is that initially it's hard. It's not something that you have 2 minutes to talk about a really difficult thing. You're like, what?
I hear you. Yeah.
But then, especially if you have a visual, I think it's and you have this assignment. It started being like this, and then we started talking. And before you know it, we're going, oh my gosh, we have 7 more seconds and so much more to say. Kind of thing. So really
that's great. So there was a little bit of a sense of connection there, was there, Eva?
Yes.
Okay,
definitely.
great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Hey, let me ask a specific question of you folks. What did you notice when you were listening for what other people were saying? Or let me put or what they were feeling, or let me put the other side. What was it like when somebody fed back to you and said, here's what I heard you feeling? Anybody? Don't let me down now. 2 in a row like that. We got to roll, baby. Somebody's got to help me out. John, come on, bail me out here, man.
Yeah, I'm here. My sister from Tanzania. Can you hear me, Deiric?
Yes, perfectly. Yeah.
Great. My sister from Tanzania. I was listening to what she has to say, and the truth is that I was following her journey with her. She happens to be a member of the opposition that just lost the election in Tanzania.
Okay.
And I literally could feel her pain for not acing it at the election. And it's like she was just taking me through all she's been through and how she's recovering. It's amazing how that being silent and listening to her could put me somehow sort of in her shoes. I actually felt it. I felt it from her tone. I knew that it wasn't that easy, but she's pulling through. The opposition, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, John. And I swear to God, folks, I did not script John because on a slide that comes up, I use the expression "I feel your pain" because and thank you, John, because you felt that and you felt her pain, her discomfort, her disappointment, etc. One more person, give me one more, and I will be the happiest Irishman on the planet when we finish this session. Just one more person. Ah, come on.
One brave soul.
Hey, who was that?
Is that Mohammed?
Oh, Mohammed. Mohammed, can you unmute Mohammed? Hang on, Mohammed.
Yes.
There you
go. I was paired with a friend.
Go ahead, you're on.
Hello? Yes, I was paired with a friend and Jerry Minor. And I got to know quite a bit about the frustrations she's gone through when she changed her job.
Okay.
The challenges and how she has been able to overcome them.
Okay.
And she's now moving on. The emotional aspect of it, the places that where she left and where she's gone to, the people she left, colleagues that she left, she missed them, and now the new place.
Okay.
So I got to relate to that. Yes.
Great. Thank you, Mohammed. And do me a favor one more time. Just switch on, because I'm going to ask you for a physical show of hands instead of this webinar crap show of hands. I'm going to ask you to switch on the camera for a moment and just give me a show of hands. How many people noticed either in the video or when they were talking to people that they actually felt into some of the things that the other folks were feeling? Yeah. Okay. Most people. Yeah. Okay. And thank you very much. And you know, I think it was Violet who said, you know, it was a complete stranger. She met this complete stranger, and at first, and excuse me if I'm attributing this wrongly, Violet. At first, it was a little bit slower, it was a little bit more difficult, and then suddenly there's not enough time. And I want you to notice just in that simple. In those two simple couple of minute experiments or experiences, if you like, that something really quite remarkable actually happened. And that is that you exercise something which is built into you, is a God-given gift to you, that we, for a whole variety of reasons that we won't go into on this session today, we choose not to use. And we choose not to use it sometimes because it's too painful. We choose not to use sometimes because we set up these intellectual barriers with other people. They're in different parties, they're in different countries, they have different political views, they support a different football team, etc. And so on. And yet you were able to turn on, at will, decide, I'm going to feel, as John said, what that other person felt. And the reality is your physiology has evolved to allow you to do that. On the left-hand side, here's a picture of a brain, okay, which is lit up when the person is in pain. And the parts of the brain there that are active right now is what's often referred to as the pain matrix. It's a network of different parts of the brain that when we're in pain, physical or emotional or spiritual pain, they light up. And on the right-hand side is the brain of somebody observing somebody else in pain. And notice what's going on. Pretty much the same areas are lighting up. Now, the intensity is not the same. And thank God the intensity is not the same. Imagine if you felt the same intensity of pain as a loved one feels when you observe them. If you're looking at one of your children or your significant other or somebody you really cared for, imagine if you actually literally experienced their pain. I think we would run exactly the other way and become absolutely inhuman. But the reality is we are tuned in, we are built to feel other people's pain. And there's a huge amount of research around that. So all of the talk that there is about empathy and about developing it in workplaces and enhancing it and growing it and all that sort of thing, I always think that's slightly wrong. It's not so much a case of developing it and growing it as getting out of our own way and practicing it and actually being intentional about tuning into other people. By the way, let me show that I know how PowerPoint works. I'm going to do something really sexy with PowerPoint now. I'm going to move the right brain to the left brain so that you can see it's the same areas on the brain. Wait till you see this. This is like magic. Okay, you ready? That was good, wasn't it? Okay, so are you excited? So there, John, is what I was saying, the kind of I feel your pain. So it literally, we do feel one another's pain. And in fact, all of the research suggests, of course, that we will tend to feel the pain of somebody that we feel is part of our tribe. And I use tribe in the broader sense. Tribe might be we support the same political party. Tribe might be we are of the same race. Tribe might be that we have the same profession, etc. We tend to experience and feel more empathy for those people who are part of our in-groups than for people who are not. But the key thing is that we don't actually have to do much to start to empathize with folks. And one of the nice things about this is there is a kind of a closed loop once it starts. Because what you notice when you tune into somebody else is you start to feel them feeling you, feeling them feeling you. So you feel into somebody else's experience and they will know you're present. They know you're there. They know you're with them. They know you're sensing into and experiencing their pain. And so they tend to move psychologically closer to you. And so you tend to move even closer to them and feel more into their experience and so on and so forth. And so you get this incredible spiral where when people choose to connect with one another, it changes everything. And as if we needed anything beyond just the pure humanity of it to convince us, there's a lot of research that says this actually helps your business. So here's one. This is an unusual idea. There's a consultancy outfit in the United Kingdom, and they compute an empathy index for organizations. And you probably wonder, how could an organization be empathetic? But what they do is they look at all of the things that show there are indicators of empathy in an organization. So, for example, employee turnover, employee sentiment, engagement surveys, climate surveys, attitude to the environment, and all those sort of things. And you can see there in the, let me get a pointer. You can see there that each of those companies has a, hang on one second. Where's my pointer? Okay, I won't get a pointer. Doesn't matter. I didn't need it anyway. You can see that each of them has a score down along here, and they're going from the top to the bottom. Now, if you look at the very top, LinkedIn are known, led by their CEO, who is very, very big on empathy, very big on compassion, very big on a humane organization. And they're ranked from the right at the top. And down towards the bottom, anybody who's traveled in Europe has probably heard of Ryanair, and they are about the living definition of the opposite of empathetic in their approach to things. It's customer service is one of those frills that you don't get on that non-frills airline. But here's the key thing. Notice the difference. The average earnings of the top 10 empathetic companies were up 6% in the year that this was done, while the average earnings of the bottom 10 dropped 9%. The companies, the top 10, increased in value twice as much as the bottom 10. But it's not just organizations that benefit. When you show up in a way that people experience you as empathetic, when you show up doing what you did in that 2 or 3 minute talk, you are perceived by those around you, perhaps most significantly your boss, as being better performers. People read empathy and the ability to connect with people as a performance criteria. So if you needed anything more than just a human reason to want to connect with people, here are a couple of them. And these are just 2 slides from dozens that you could pick up on this. So here's my key message here today. My key message is empathy doesn't happen by itself. We have this ability to empathize, but we need to be intentional about it. We need to decide that I'm going to connect with the people that I meet. I am going to open up to the people I meet. I'm going to allow myself to feel into or to sense into what their experience is. And that's the first step. And before we do anything else, because I'm an engineer, I do everything by step 1, step 2, step 3. And I'm going to do that. But the first thing is intention. Just here right now, if you can see from the experience of that video or the experience of that conversation with that person or anything that's been said so far, you can see my life or the world would be a better place if I was more empathetic. Well, then the first thing to do is set the intention. Just here as we're talking. When I go out of here, don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm setting the intention. I'm going to be more empathetic. Now, in the Upper Natal, there's a greeting, and you're going to have to excuse my pronunciation. I'm an Irish guy, so pronouncing Zulu words is not my forte. And you probably know this better than I do, but I think this really encapsulates the whole essence of what we're talking about when we talk empathy. In the westernized world, people greet with one another and they say, "Hi, how are you?" And in brackets, in parentheses, they're saying, "Hi, how are you? I don't really give a damn. I'm just going through the motions. Don't tell me." And you notice that particularly if you get Irish, English, Americans, and they say, "Hi, how are you?" And if you tell them, you see the shock on their face because they didn't actually expect you to tell them. They were just going through the motions. Whereas the traditional greeting for some of these tribes is Sobona, and apologies again for my pronunciation, which has lots of different definitions. And I got this one particularly from a Zulu gentleman who told me, it's pretty much, "I see you. I'm giving all my attention to you." And there is the essence for me of empathy. And there's the difference between a culture that is founded around an empathetic concept and the cultures is not. It's seeing other people, because the one thing we want to feel is seen. And I love one of the responses to that, and I believe there are half a dozen different responses to it. Shikoba, I'm relieved to know I exist for you. And I think, don't most of us move through the world needing to be seen by other people? And isn't one of the greatest sources of spiritual angst and anxiety when we're not seen, and particularly when we're not seen by people who are important to us? And I think if we can have that mindset of, I am setting the intention to be empathetic, which is to really see other people, to give them my attention, to feel into their experience, to get out of my own way, and if you like, open up that part of me. We refer to it as our heart, but of course we know it's part of the brain, to allow ourselves to feel into their experience. So here's the way I see this as being different from the classic greeting that you would use in my country. "Hi, how are you?" Not that I care. Versus, "Hi, how are you? You seem a little distracted. Is there anything I can do for you?" Or, "Hi, how are you? You're looking pretty satisfied for yourself. What did I miss?" Or, "Hi, how are you? Hey, everything okay with you?" It doesn't really matter what it is. It's when you notice, if you take that beat and you choose to actually feel into somebody's experience, you're likely to get something that gives you a sense of where they are right now. But we don't normally pay attention to that. So it's about intentionally opening up to people and making a part of the way we make people. Empathy should be a practical thing, not a theoretical thing. So here's my engineering approach to it, okay? And if you want to start taking, for example, all of the opportunities of the meetings you might be having online, as an opportunity to practice this, or you can just have it when you're meeting people as you go through your day, whether it's virtually or in person. And excuse me, I keep talking about virtual, and I keep assuming that everybody is locked down to the same extent as we are, and I know you guys are not, and it makes me sick, by the way. If you're moving through the world and you're still moving through it in 3D, fantastic, works just as well. And I think it comes down to, one, as you're meeting somebody, I intend to be open to them. And that's an intent you can set long beforehand. You don't have to be walking up to everybody thinking, I intend to be open to this person. That's an attitudinal thing. And the second one is really, how would my best self show up here? And I don't have to explain the concept of what a best self is. You know what that is. How would the best version of me show up? You know, so I intend to be open to them. And then when you're talking to them, what am I noticing? And it's amazing what you hear when you listen. It's amazing what you feel when you choose to. So what am I noticing? What am I experiencing? If you're talking with somebody and you've had this experience and the temperature of the conversation drops 10 degrees, something just changed. If you're talking to somebody and everything is going perfectly well, and suddenly you feel sort of a sadness or something in the gut of your stomach, something changed in that dynamic. You've probably picked up on it. And noticing that is the start of real empathy. But the core thing is wanting to notice that. Reflecting back, you need to be careful with this, is, hey, Vicky, you know, Vicky is, let's say, for example, we're having a conversation and Vicky is jumping up and down and she's saying this. It might be a slight understatement to say, I get a sense that this is something really important to you, right? But you get my point. Is as people are talking, they are all the time telling you how they feel. You listen to their voices, and you know without any analysis, without reading any books, how they're feeling. I have a feeling, or you're having a conversation with somebody and suddenly it goes cold. And you're talking away and nothing changed, and the words are okay, and they're saying, yeah, that's fine. And you just suddenly feel like somebody opened the front door and the back door and there's a cold wind blowing through the conversation. You know that feeling. Put a name on it. Call it out. I noticed something changed when I said X, Y, Z. But here's the key thing: intention. It is about intention. And you want to set, I can't turn my camera around to show you, but on the wall behind me here, excuse the crappy picture, is a very high-tech piece of equipment there. It's called a Post-it. And on I've written it, what is my intent for this call? And so I don't see that because it's there all the time. I don't see it before every call, but I see it before enough calls during the day that since I've started doing that a year or two ago, that I find that I'm more likely to tune into somebody if I get a little reminder to get out of my head and, if you like, into their head. And the key thing for this, and I'll go back to, I'll finish where I started, is it all comes back to practice. So because we can come into this session and we can say, oh, well, I hope you're going to say this. Oh, that was a good session, and I learned how the brain worked, and we got a demonstration of that. That doesn't change your world or my world or your experience, not that much. But if you walk out of this session with the idea that, actually, you know what? I am setting the intention that I am going to be more present to people, listening for their experience. Now you change the world, just a little bit, and you change it, and people feel you showing up that way. Your kids will show up that way when you model it. The people around you will model it, because the way you feel impacts the way other people feel through emotional intelligence, or through emotional contagion. I'm not going to go into that. I was going to get you to a survey. We won't do that because I've run way over my time. And Vicky knows I never run over time because I don't like to talk. Yeah, I knew that. I'd get a smile from you. But so there's my message. Let me go to my last slide. The key word in here is the practical art of empathy. We have to practice. Now, what I'll send Vicky for you, it's not very high tech. I call it a cheat sheet. It's actually a picture of that one pager. And what we do when we train people, put it on your desk for a couple of days. As you're going into meetings, just take a quick look at it. And after a couple of days, it becomes quite natural and normal and quite reflexive. So that's my take on empathy. It is a practice, not a theory. And with that, I'm going to shut up and I'm going to hand it back to our hostess.
Thank you very much, Deiric. As always, we appreciate you. You're so easy and simple with the way you put things. I remember the first time we talked about empathy, you told me, Vicky, everyone has empathy. I mean, don't you go to a movie and when the sad part, you automatically want to cry? And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, because I guess at that particular point, you are feeling what's happening in the movie, and the natural part of you, even if we go like, I'm not gonna cry, is still feeling it.
And the harder you say the words it gets, right? I'm not gonna cry. Do you ever notice men when they, because we're all macho, we don't have emotions and we don't react. When you get a movie that really moves them, okay, here's what you get. Here's the male reaction. So the female reaction is be quite open, take out the tissue. The male reaction is something like this. And it's done at the highest speed possible to try and knock away any evidence that we might actually be tuned in and feeling something. I'm sorry, Vicky, but you're right. Movies are a great example. Great actors and actresses can make you. That's their skill. They make you feel. They make you feel the emotion that they're trying to communicate. It's not about the words they're speaking. It's about the way they show up.
Yeah. It is about the way they show up. So I'm just going to take one of the questions here from Eva, and she's asking, does the perception of being a better performer due to the level of empathy work for the managed as well? Or is it the manager?
Look, think of somebody that you really, just think of somebody that you really, really like to be around. And I invite, this is a thought exercise for everybody. Think of somebody you really like to be around, somebody that you find really pleasant. And it's just they walk into the room and the temperature comes up a couple of degrees and you feel quite happy and you like to be around them, okay? Mm-hmm. Then think, why is that? What is it about them that makes you want to be around them? Now, if you want the contrast, think of somebody you really don't like to be around. Somebody, when they walk in the room, drops the temperature 10 degrees. Now, what's the difference? And I bet you if you examine it, if I gave you long enough, you'd come back and you'd tell me, but we don't have all that time. So let me say, one of the key differences is they see you. They're tuned into you. You know they care about you. You know they care enough to listen to what you're saying. You feel them feel into you. So it doesn't matter whether you are a manager or whether you are an employee. If you're human, showing up in this way changes everything. It changes the impact you have on your kids, your friends, your neighbors, the world at large. If everybody, imagine tomorrow, I sound like bloody John Lennon, but imagine all the people getting up tomorrow morning and deciding intentionally, going into the day and saying, I am going to sense into the experience of everybody I meet today.
Yeah.
That would have to change everything. It would have to change everything. Now, I'm not Miss World, so I'm not talking about bringing world peace overnight or anything like that. But I'm saying it really would. If we were feeling into other people's experience, there are some of the things that we do that we just wouldn't do. So yeah, it changes everything. And the great hope is if we model that for our kids, maybe it might be kind of normal for them, instead of something that they have to learn.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I have another question for you, Deiric, and this one goes to the second one the second question I wanted to ask. It's from Josephine, and she says, any suggestions for empathy for introverts who tend to block people out because of external energy can be draining?
Yeah.
And to just kind of add on to that, I'll also ask you, what about what we call empathy burnout? What about that?
Oh, yeah.
When you're just too much into it.
Yeah, and remind me the second question. And let's let's deal with the introvert one. But because of the effect you were talking about, I may start losing words and I might remember the second part. So remember that for me, Vicky.
I will.
The first part with introverts. I know when I say this that you'll think he's full of it. He's absolutely full of it. But on a scale of runs from 1 to 10, and Vicky has heard this a dozen times before, and may even have seen the results, that in the profiles assessment, the PXT, called sociability, which is a measure of introversion versus extroversion. On that scale of 1 to 10, I measure a 3, which suggests that I'm right on the high end of introvert, if you like. It doesn't stop me performing like this. That's different. It just means that if we were in a room and I walked in and I didn't know all of you guys, that would suck a lot of energy out of me. My daughter, she walks in there and it would energize her. She's a 9 or a 10 on that. What I would say to you is, you don't have to go large in order to have that empathetic impact on people. When you feel into somebody's experience, you can be as introverted and as normal a version of yourself as you want to in reflecting back to them that you see them. And it can be as simple as, yeah, I feel where you're coming from, or I can see you feel passionately about this, or I can see that this is really getting to you, or I can see this makes you really happy, or I see this gets you really excited. You don't have to be doing this sort of performance that I'm doing today, where you're all kind of Muppet Show stuff and all larger than life. It can be, some of the most charismatic people I know are introverts, because they're incredibly good at that whole process of listening and feeling. And so the extroversion is not an essential for this. Empathetic burnout is a big deal. It's particularly a big deal in the caring professions right now, because sadly, people who not sadly, that's not fair. People who end up in the caring professions, and we make that broad, we call that doctors, nurses, social workers, charity workers, charitable institutions, that sort of people who in general feel this need to give back, this need to, they feel other people's pain. They can experience the opposite of what the majority of the world experience. The majority of the world has been really, really effective at closing off that part of themselves to protect themselves from feeling too much of other people's pain. Some people are so open that if they were to allow themselves to feel any more, they would just burn up and blow away. Now, one of the things that we do in a program that we do, a mindfulness program, you mentioned Search Inside Yourself, and there's another program that we do, is for people like that in the caring professions. We train them in the art of compassion. And compassion triggers a different part of the brain. It allows you to feel into somebody's experience, but allows you to, here we go. Difference between empathy and compassion is compassion comes automatically with an action. That is, I see Deiric's in difficulty, what can I do? Okay, so that instead of spending the time focused upon, I feel your pain, that's really bad, etc. It's more, what can I do to relieve it? And if I can't relieve it, I won't do anything. In fact, I just thought of an analogy. They say that the difference between empathy and compassion is, imagine you're walking down the street and you come across a poor guy and there's a big half-ton boulder sitting on his chest. Empathy is, that hurts, man, I can feel that. Compassion is, yeah, I feel that, what can I do for you? And they're very different pathways in the brain. Somebody mentioned earlier on that mindfulness is a really useful tool set. There's a practice in there called metta, which is about developing compassion, and it develops that part of the brain that allows you to be empathetic and compassionate without burning out. Very long answer to a very short question, for which I apologize.
So it seems like it's I don't know, it's like being a bit more intentional about seeking action when you start to feel that someone is in something, like trying to remedy it. But what about when you can't do anything about it? What do you do then?
And therein lies the challenge. There's a lady, and I'm trying to say it's Tanya. Yeah, Tanya Singer, I think, is her first name. First name is Tanya, and I think second is Singer. and she's a researcher in the Max Planck Institute in Germany, and she's researched the impact on the brain of doing this sort of compassion practice and developing that part of the brain, so that basically, if you like, when the brain feels a sense of compassion, that it's rooted more towards what can I do than, oh, I'm going to really feel into your pain. Once you, if empathetic burnout is a challenge for you, once you start to develop that side of the brain, well, then the research suggests that you tend to cope better with that feeling that you cannot stir the ocean and you can't help everybody. And so it's a very challenging. You see, it's going to sound very trite if I say you get over the fact that you can't help everybody. You don't actually really ever get over it. It's just that your brain starts to adapt to where it is not a threat to your own well-being and your own health in that situation.
Okay.
Worth looking up that lady, Tanya Singer. Yeah.
Tanya Singer. Okay. John is asking, is it true that empathy leads to bad decisions?
I don't think so. I can't see, here's the thing. Everything leads to bad decisions, and everything leads to good decisions. For example, let's say you've got, you've just won the lotto and you've got €500,000 to invest. I would suggest you don't invest that on a day when you're in the best mood you've ever been in, because what you're going to do is you're going to invest in high risk and you probably lose it. But don't invest it either on the day when you're in the worst possible mood that you're in, because you're likely to invest it very, very conservatively, and you're probably not going to get any earning on it. Inflation may eat it up. So the way you feel makes for bad decisions. The way you feel into other people, the way other people feel, has an impact on the decisions you make. But it doesn't necessarily make for bad decisions. What it definitely makes for is more balanced decisions. If you can feel into somebody else's experience, you can sense where they're coming from, well, then you have a better chance of reaching agreement on things than you have if you don't feel that. You have a better chance of coming to a consensus on things than if you don't feel into that. But you also have the risk that, oh, I might make the wrong decision because I feel so badly for that person. Yeah, there it is. To be a human is tough, but it's not a good enough reason to switch off that empathetic part of us, because it so enriches things.
I think that's a great answer. If you have any other questions, please post them on the chat. If you want to speak, you can actually raise your hand up. I can see Jeffrey's posting some.
Oh, thanks, Jeffrey. It was Tanya, yeah. Yeah, it's worth having a look at her if you're into neuroscience and all that. And she does she's a presentation up on YouTube that talks about this, and she talks about the impact of training for compassion in allowing people to behave in an empathetic way without burning themselves out, particularly in the caring professions. Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you for sharing that.
And I think referring back to the neuroscience of emotion and into how, science has currently, just recently shown how social experiences, the way we experience our relationships, our friendships, also elicits or rather lights up the same pain points as if we were having physical pain. And I think maybe that's where then, if you're going to think about or rather empathize with someone and you start getting that pain, that's possibly where then the overload comes from. Because if you're going to equate both the emotional pain and the physical pain together, that means that we're basically almost experiencing the same thing.
Yeah, and there is that empathetic burnout challenge. I can tell you from my experience, the biggest challenge in the world is not, and no disrespect to people who have that really finely tuned sense of empathy, who are prone towards that greater sensitivity to other people's suffering, but they are in the minority. The majority, the biggest problem we have is people are not empathetic, period. People do not tune into other folks. In fact, I would go looking for it now if I could, but when in this conversation, you just reminded me that I commissioned a cartoon about 3 or 4 years ago, and it showed two little neurons, one walking down the street, and it sees the other neuron, and it has a thumbtack stuck in its foot, and he walks up, and it showed empathy, and he stops, and he starts crying, and the two of them are crying together. And then they showed compassion. The neuron comes up, the compassion neuron comes up, and it looks, and you can see the impact on its little neuron face that it's feeling it. But the next frame of the cartoon, it has a pliers and it's pulling out the tack. So if you feel the burnout, one of the things that can be useful is to try to do something about it. But let me just say to anybody who would accuse me of oversimplifying, yes, I am. If you're somebody who's experiencing empathetic burnout, seriously, get some help for it. If you really do feel that you feel too much of somebody's pain, go to somebody and talk to them, because it really, really can help tremendously.
Yeah, and I think even in terms of what we're going through, even as you said, the COVID situation, it is I think a place where we can start talking about also psychological well-being of other people as well, and how do we keep mental health still an issue in the workplace, even as leaders. And I remember reading somewhere that part of the reasons why leaders should be even more mindful or possibly work towards their resilience is that a lot of their work is on influencing, is on reading, is on understanding. And so that there's a lot of exhaustion that comes with that, mental exhaustion. I can imagine even empathy, exhaustion, and all those things together. So I can see how then that makes it a bit harder for them to might show up. You might show up tomorrow and yell at everyone. And I mean, you didn't mean to, but you've gotten to the point where it's just now a bit too much for everything. You might feel you're really trying hard to understand everyone and put everyone in their place, but maybe they're not carrying their weight around, or something just happens and then you just go off on everyone. Yeah.
And the other thing always, I think another dimension to empathy is to recognize that, we can feel into what other people are feeling. And if we choose to do it, we can feel more into their experience. But people can be having an entirely different experience, an entirely deeper, more negative experience than you would ever intuit. That is driving them to do things that have a negative impact upon you. And I think there's a great, in fact, if you remind me, Vicky, I'll send you a link to the compassion practice that I was talking about, the app to get it. But I'll send you a link as well to a practice called Just Like Me. And it's just designed to get this frame of mind. It's only a couple of minutes practice. It's designed to get this frame of mind that people around me are just like me. They have good days, bad days, happy days, sad days. And the things that they do, they're not doing them to tick me off. They're doing them because they think it's going to make them happy. And so that bus exploding like that, we will tend to react to that negatively because of the way it makes us feel. Yeah. But if we take the perspective that that guy is just like me and he's probably having a crappy day, that changes everything in the way you react, and it changes everything in the way the impact of your reaction to that person.
Yeah. I think it also speaks to personality. My personality in terms of MBTI, I have a J. So I have a judging perspective, and I catch myself doing it all the time. I even catch myself saying it, saying things that are so judgmental, and I cringe. And I know it came out and it was going to come out anyway. So we might tend to judge more. So for me, I think also understanding that, some people are more the thinkers and they will look at a situation a lot better than others. Me, I'll look at a situation and immediately start putting a label to it one way or another. Is I think another way that we can start developing that mindfulness as to how we are making these decisions, how we are perceiving situations as well, based on just how we perceive life.
Well, I tell you, you don't have to be a J to be judgmental. I never thought of myself as being judgmental, but since my daughter started working in the business, she's not afraid to tell me, and she does several times a day. That feels a bit judgy to me. You know? A bit judgy. That feels a little bit judgy to me, and it's amazing if you have a significant other and you feel open enough to be able to say, "Hey, honey, catch me out." Anytime you think I'm being judgmental, anytime you think I'm being cliched or judgmental, catch me out. You'd be surprised just how many times it trips you up. And all it does is, well, in the moment, it ticks you off. I mean, in the moment, who are you? Leave me alone. You know, I don't need this.
Yeah.
But it actually does stop you and make you, over time, make you start to think before things come out of your mouth. Am I reacting in a judgmental way? And I guarantee the answer to that question is usually yes. So you don't have to be the least judgmental person on the planet. You just have to be a less judgmental version of yourself to make a difference.
Yeah, yeah. And get out of our own way, as you keep saying, get out of our own way.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, folks, is there any other question? I'm saying folks because Deiric is here. Others I'd say, okay, everyone, is there any other question? And thank you so much, Deiric, joining us all the way from Ireland. He's telling me that there's a blue sky right now and it's going to last. Is it still there?
Well, let me see, how long is this cable? Let me see if I can point it towards it, because for those of you who may ever consider visiting Ireland, don't expect to see this, because it only pops its head out every so often. But I'll see if I can show you the window that's in front of me and see if you can get, I'm not sure if you can see, but that's quite bright. And on the trees, you can see a touch of sun. Now, that has not been like that since about August or the end of August. And it won't really be like that again until March or April. I don't know what the hell is going on here. But yeah, it is quite beautiful out there. And it gives me a certain amount of pleasure to know that in sunny Kenya, that it's not sunny.
No, it's not sunny. It's rather blue.
It gives me a certain amount of pleasure. What is it they call it? Schadenfreude? Is that what the Germans call it? Pleasure at somebody else's? Yeah. So there's a certain element to that. We Irish are very good at that, even though it's a German word.
I had someone.
Hello, Vicky.
Yes.
Hello, Vicky. It's Angela from Nigeria.
Hi, Angela. I think Angela doesn't have a very good connection.
Oh, she just suddenly disappeared.
Yeah, we might have lost her.
Darn. Okay.
I know. Internet is really something.
Yeah. So can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Sorry, it's Angela actually sent to WhatsApp to explain my challenges, and I want to believe this is recorded so that I can have an access to all this wonderful discourse.
Yes.
The bit from what I heard from Deiric, thank you so very much. You speak so softly and driving home the point. So I got what you said, the last closing remarks. It's like say,
We were doing so well there for a moment.
Yeah, we were. I don't know if you're still on the call.
I'll just take off the video, perhaps that will be better. The network is really bad.
Yeah, unfortunately, it dropped out just as you were getting to your point there, Angela.
Yeah, so I'll take all the video now, perhaps this will be stable. So the last point was, it's like saying spiritually, listening to the word of our Lord, saying, forgive them for they know not what they do. It's like being empathetic makes the world go round, makes things better. It gives you some kind of peace of mind to make excuses for other people so that you don't feel too bad when something's go wrong or when you perceive somebody's,
Yeah.
Okay. You're asking if it gives you excuses. I don't know.
I think Angela was saying it does make the world go round, and it does make you a little bit happier. And I think that was the very first comment we got was Violet, and I think she said it made me so happy. I hope I'm not misquoting you, Violet, but I think she said having that conversation and tuning in, it made me happy. Hell,
Yeah, I just look forward to getting the recorded version so I can, listen to this all over again. And
great.
I'm really appreciative. And Vicky, thank you so much. I would love to go through this recording and, gain more insight into how to live and work well with other people. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome, Angela. And for everyone, we are going to share the recording. We share all our sessions, the recordings of all our sessions with all the people who registered, as well as guys in our mailing list. So you will get this recording. It will be on YouTube at any time. So Deiric, any last words? I think it's been an excellent presentation, excellent time with you as always. I think a real conversation, practical. And I believe, I hope so, for everyone who is here today. And I didn't get to share the 2 minutes because you were very busy trying to juggle everyone into the meeting rooms. And I think the only thing we talked about was how the words keep getting lost with us when we train.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
In last words, I tell you, I actually, a couple of words. This man won't mean anything to many people, but he will mean something to Vicky.
Yeah, he does. He does.
And he was one of the founders of Profiles. And it's funny he came into my mind. He sits on my desk here the whole time. And actually, what's really interesting is one of his favorite sayings was, think with your imagination, not your memory, which is a super admonition. But one of the things he used to say about these sessions, he used to say, and I won't do the Texas accent, he used to say, Deiric, if you take money from people, you bring people into a meeting and you take money from them, you take from them a resource which is replaceable. There's more money in the world. It might not seem like it sometimes, but you can get more. But when you take their time from them, you take something they'll never have back again. You're taking something which is really a finite resource. And this 90 minutes or so by the time we're finished that we spent together is something that you won't ever get back. And he always said, that means you have a really big responsibility to make sure that at the end of their lives, if they were asked, that person would say, yeah, that was a worthwhile 90 minutes. And I would think the return on investment of your 90 minutes that I would recommend is, as you're going out of this session today, with everything we've talked about, is if you go out of this saying, I'm setting an intention to start to show up to people in a more open, empathetic way. I'm going to open up more to people. I'm going to feel more into people, into the people I encounter. You don't know how you're going to do it. It doesn't matter. If you set that intention, well, then I think you will get the return on investment that makes the time worthwhile. But if you keep doing what you're doing, you'll keep getting what you're getting.
Thank you very much, Deiric. And I think I'll try and set the intention to be less judgy.
I love it. Yeah, that's AFA. Yeah, that's a bit judgy there, Deiric. Yeah. It's been a pleasure, folks. Thanks so much, Vicky. I always enjoy working with your gang, and it's good to see some of those faces that I know and all those pictures. And I've got to get myself one of those pictures like Violet. I really do.
Yeah. Powerhouse. Yeah. So let me also thank everyone for being here with us today. As always, we know that your time is precious and it shows to be here, and we hope it's been worthwhile. Let's set the intention. Let's start. Let's make empathy practical and spread it around. Like Angela has said, it will make everything get better. Let's go around. Let's spread some love, for lack of a better word. But thank you so much. We will send you this recording, and as always, we will send you the dates of the next Genos webinar, where you can get to listen in on other matters, emotional intelligence, leadership, and those other topics that I think we all want to learn a lot more of, because that's where the whole world is headed, with all this automation, with all this machine learning, with wanting to be better leaders. I mean, my own children right now are telling me about meditation. I learned about meditation maybe 4 years ago. It's a different world. It's a different world out there. And these concepts are coming, and they're going to be with us. And I think they're going to stay with us for a long time. So thank you, everyone, and I wish you all a lovely Friday evening. Thank you so much, Deiric. I wish you a lovely afternoon, and my love to Marie and Afa, and take care, and we thank you as always. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure, folks. Thanks a million. Take care of yourself.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.